Hi, folks. It is Tuesday, the 8th of June, and this is the K8s Documentation Special Interest Group weekly meeting. We are going to abide by the Cloud Native Computing Foundation Code of Conduct and be generally excellent to one another. Hello, everyone. I'm Tim, a technical lead for the Special Interest Group. First of all, actually, let's see if there's anyone new on the call. I think I recognize everyone, so I doubt it. But yeah, I'm going to put the agenda link in the chat just so that that's useful to anyone who wants to see it. Jesse, hello, and Brad. I don't recognize you as a SIG Docs person, Jesse. We've just done introductions. Are you perhaps new here?
Hi, if that was to me, my audio was still joining. I'm Jesse Butler. So I'm on the 122 release team, the comms team. So I just am,
Cool.
I'm showing up to plug in and see what I should be paying attention to.
Cracking. Nice without your camera on, I didn't recognize you, but I don't recognize anyone without that camera on. That's my excuse. Right, I'm going to move on to, the release team. Who would like to talk about the upcoming release and its docs?
Me, I cannot edit. I can see the doc now, but I cannot edit it. Just a heads up on that.
Let me give you, I presume you've got some sort of...
I can request.
Private message me your email address you use for Google logins, Victor, and I will make sure you can access.
Absolutely.
Looks like we have some new access restrictions, I guess.
Possibly. Maybe Google updated some stuff there.
Yes, I suspect so. Sorry about that. Have you sent me your email address, Victor, somehow? I'll add you.
1 sec.
Please hold, folks.
I can give the status meanwhile. So integration branch is healthy. I'm still waiting on the PR to merge. It needs a steering committee because I believe it touches on something that was merged on either the blog or some public announcement or something like that. But I think it should be solved very soon. Currently, we have 45 enhancements that need documentation, that need pull requests. We have 9 draft PRs, 7 that are ready for review, and 3 that were already merged, plus 1 that's not in the tracking sheet, which is also open, and I will merge probably soon. I requested some changes to that. And that's it. No outstanding problems, no issues or anything else from our side.
Cool. Anything to add, people? Any questions? Okay. Now I'm looking at the agenda here, and we have an empty list of issues and PRs to discuss, and an empty list of topics to discuss as well. It could be a short weekly meeting, but feel free now, if you haven't got access to write to that agenda, put it in the chat and we can add it, but feel free now to propose something to talk about.
Hi, you can go, Jesse. You go. Okay, so I just wanted to raise something for a project that I had, which is tracking stale content. That's a bigger project that's part of our quarterly review process. And I've been sort of not able to work on that as much, but I did want to raise it here because I'm going out on leave starting at the end of the month, and I won't be back, until November. So I was wondering if there'd be somebody who'd be interested in taking over that project, and I can give more context if people don't remember what that is. Basically, we're trying to find a way to track stale content on the Kubernetes.io website. Building automated processes to go through the content and see if things have been updated. given a certain window of time and go through that. So just wanted to throw that out there. If somebody on this call is interested, I can also follow up in the channel and see if get a broader net of people might be interested in that.
I'm going to ask a related question. Does anyone have experience documenting things outside Kubernetes where, you know, as a technical writer, you've used tools or you have experience of people solving this problem elsewhere and would like to talk about that?
Rex, that's a really great question. I was hoping there'd be somebody.
Well, that's not the sort of response I was hoping for, but it's, you know, it's the honest answer. I don't think anyone does. Abigail, you are breaking somewhat novel ground, at least for SIG Docs.
I think in terms of automation, the only thing I've done in the past is, you know, just have somebody go through and check that there aren't broken URLs, things like that. What kind of things are you thinking of, Abigail, to check?
More like content-wise, to say whether or not certain pages are out of date, if they haven't been updated in like a year or hadn't been updated in a while. There's also an idea of having like a last reviewed date as kept as metadata within a page. So we can say whether a SIG has reviewed something for technical accuracy within a given time period. So that's sort of the goal. More to detect if the actual content on the page has been updated or is out of date.
Yeah, that makes sense. I actually ran into something manually, tried to pull a container to use in one of the procedures and basically hadn't been updated for 5 years. That's the kind of thing, you know, you can find, you know, container names and versions and try to pull them and see if they're still available, see if they're outdated, see if they need to be updated. That's the kind of thing that could go in, that could be maybe automated.
One thing that people might not know is that we have some slightly dated infrastructure for running examples and testing that those examples work against Kubernetes. I'll put something in the notes about that. Is anyone familiar with those examples and that mechanism?
I just posted a link to a doc that I had about when I originally started this project in the chat. If people want to learn more or refresh their memory about where things are. There hasn't been a lot of, maybe, I'm not sure if people have access to that. I haven't checked the permissions in a while. Maybe it was the same issue. Okay. Just for more context and some thoughts that I had and working with other people in the community, haven't made a lot of progress beyond putting this doc together. Unfortunately, but would be really interested in working with people for the next little bit if somebody is interested in working on this more.
Okay, anyone want to dip their appendages in the pool and stand out from the herd, anything like that?
Yeah, I'd definitely be interested in taking a look at this. I'm just starting to free up here for the summer. I know I probably just jinxed myself by saying that, but you know, we'll see what happens. Would definitely love to help it on this front. This looks fantastic.
Thank you, Taylor. Right, I have now lost my agenda. Sorry about that. There wasn't anything on it. Are there any other topics? There is one thing I might cover, but any other topics people want to talk about?
I wanted to just ask, so this is my first time on a release team. This is really I mean, I've shown up to SIGs, I've looked at PRs before, that's about it. So really psyched to just be in the loop, learning a lot from anybody who's been around in this SIG. Like, is there anything that the comms lead typically does that we haven't done yet? Is there anybody with a raised eyebrow going, well, we should be doing XYZ? The role handbook and the release, for folks who might not know, the release team has various functions, and each function has a role handbook. And there's a set of shadows that can intern against that. And sort of, I think shadows do it with people that have done it before as leads. And then you know what to do. And so the role handbook isn't super detailed. So I'm just sort of asking, are we missing anything yet? Is there anything that we should be doing or not?
I think I can partially not answer that. So
Not is fine.
we should have a sync before the release. And before the release, I mean, during the last week, during the last week before the release, I think the docs handbook states something. Technically, I should come into your chat and ask if you have anything that you want to communicate to us. But definitely, we can talk about it and we can sync up. At this point, I have to be honest, I can't think of anything. The only thing that I think comms is somewhat involved, and from what I take from the release team meeting the last time, is the blog. But other from that, honestly, I don't know. And someone that is more familiar with the blog, please. I remember there was a meeting for the blog, but I'm not sure. I think there was a work group or something, but honestly, like, I'm totally out of that. So
I think on the release blog, I think we have a pretty good handle on that. And we'll shepherd feature blogs as well. I was under the impression that we wrote them all. I'm so happy that that's not the case. But yeah, if anything comes up from anyone or anybody who's been around in the project for a while and you're thinking, oh, they should have done this by now, just holler at me. Otherwise, just thanks.
absolutely.
There are a couple of things that I think SIG Docs doesn't want to happen. And you know, the release, the sort of the juncture of release and SIG Docs is can help avoid those. So one of those things is the sort of the 2-line change that deprecates a feature people are going to care about. Let's not have Docker shim anymore. Let's mark such and such a feature as deprecated. Some of these deprecations are really easy to do in code, and people might miss that actually the comms part of that can be massive. So this is as much about listening to people as it is about talking to people. And it's as much about, you know, that kind of detail as it is about looking at code and so on. But I guess look slightly to windward, keep an eye out for small, big changes.
Yeah, I noticed that there's a lot of PRs that do exactly this. I caught some of them that weren't even tracked, that were trying to modify documentation without an exception filed. And I usually try to see all of the PRs that are opened against Dev 122 and go over all. Right now, there's also someone trying to remove some. I noticed that you commented you removed the LGTM from there. Someone's also trying to remove a feature gate completely. I think it's
I
maybe
think
it's
that's
not
just a mistake. You know, like if we have a separate piece of work that I'm moving forward to make that be a generated page, so it'd be much easier to. That would be an obvious add a deprecated version to a field rather than anything. Like I don't mind people getting it wrong there. That's not a problem actually. The second thing to watch out for is big ticket features landing. So we have had a couple of times when we've released a big feature to GA, and it's been sort of picked up by the documentation side of things really quite late in the cycle that's happening. So again, if anything big is landing, maybe it went insta beta in 1.2.1 or that kind of thing, and actually it's ready to graduate, but we never documented it. That's a really good thing to find out. And Jesse and everyone, this can again be, there's lots of different ways to find it. You can find it by looking at PRs, but you can also find it by liaising with SIGs or with talking to well-connected people on the internet. There's no I don't think there is one good, right or wrong way to find this out. But if you can and you spot anything, you've done us a great service.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, we might be losing Jesse. I'm not sure. Okay. We mentioned the blog a couple of times. Does anyone here want to talk about the Kubernetes blog? Was that a nod from you, Taylor?
Oh, I always want to talk about it. I'd say that I think that I have seen definitely an uptick in just overall blogs that have come in, different requests, and just kind of using it as a way to announce to the community and kind of talk through some things, like was brought up around the Nginx Ingress project and kind of getting the word out there. Definitely, you know, always if you know someone that wants to jump in and help out with reviewing blogs and might need some help kind of establishing what that might be, you know, please bring those people in. It'd be great to have more help on that front. We definitely go through seasons when it comes to that front too. We definitely see, you know, the influx jump on that front, and then kind of scale back during some of the holidays and summer holidays, you know, other holidays around the year. But yeah, it's been it seems like we've been a little bit overloaded on that in some capacity as of late, but you know, definitely looking for more help on that front. And again, I'm starting to free up. Apologies for kind of ducking out and hiding in the woods there for a little bit as other things have been going on.
Well, I agree with all of that. I'm going to call out a couple of ways that I think people can help with the blog that might not be obvious. So one thing I think would be useful and like never harmful really is anyone who's got like an administrative or, you know, sort of naturally good at organizing things, project managing and so on, because the blog project wants to have, I think it's a weekly or fortnightly meeting. And if you know someone who's looking to contribute like that, like let them know the opportunities there, because there isn't someone who's got the bandwidth, I think at the moment, to organize that weekly meeting and facilitate. You don't have to write a word of blog articles to do that, although you'd be very welcome. So anyone who's looking for that kind of role or knows someone who's, you know, interested in that way, please mention us to them. There's been a few people who've sent me sort of direct messages on Slack and otherwise said, how do I get involved in the blog? So I'm going to try and do some stuff to help those folks get more involved this week. I've been on vacation a couple of weeks and generally sort of put kindling on the embers of the SIG Docs blog channel in Slack, and so try and keep things going. It's been a little quiet, but I think it's not dead, and we can definitely move things forward there. Does anyone have any questions on blogging on the Kubernetes blog? Okay. Last call for any issues, pull requests, or discussion points we want to bring up in this week's meeting.
Actually, I do have a question about the blogging. So in general, the types of things that people can submit for blogs, is it tend to be maybe less formal, less stringent than maybe the doc site itself? So if somebody wants to talk about something that's sort of maybe a little peripheral or more tuned to, you know, a particular, even something associated with particular company's way of doing things. I mean, because I know they moved a lot of that stuff out of the docs. Is that what the blogs are for? Even peripheral stuff, as the things that wouldn't necessarily be in official docs?
Absolutely. I mean, the one thing that the blogs are not for is outright advertising. So, you know, if I went to say I work for the Scale Factory, you know, we're a consultancy business, and you know, we're great at Kubernetes, because that's not a blog post. That's marketing. If you want to say I've got a cloud platform and it's compliant and not mention any other cloud platforms, that's advertising. If it's not advertising and it's kind of relevant to the audience, people who read the blog are likely to be interested, then it's good. It can totally be, I work at this company and we have this really interesting way of using Kubernetes. It can be, I wrote this thing that works with Kubernetes and it's not part of Kubernetes, and this is how I wrote it. It can be, here's a survey of all the different ways you can log with Kubernetes that aren't built in. And does anyone want to come up with their own suggestion as to what might be a valid topic? Anyone? Well, there's plenty more ideas there, and feel free to go back through the blog archives. The positioning has changed slightly in the last 7 years that we've been around as a project, but not that much. Earlier blogs included weekly meetings of the whole project, which we don't do that anymore. But I think it's kind of obvious how that's changed. I think it's pretty easy to look at the last few years of blog articles in the index and infer how it's done. And I'm very happy to see people err on the side of submission. I have seen articles come in that are like far too advertising-y, and I've said, look, I'll review this for you. That's too advertising-y, but there is a great point to be made here. Take out this advertising, take out these things, or link to some other projects, and sure, you can link to your company's product, provided that you link to these other 3 as well. And we're not here to facilitate advertising, but we are here to facilitate getting people's articles out there, even if they, do get paid for writing them.
Yeah, that makes
I hope
sense.
that makes
Thanks.
sense.
Yeah.
Cool. I would add that, I guess, that if you're reviewing someone's article and they're a bit out of line with the guidelines, a review that explains here is how to make your article be in the guidelines is probably the right way to go, even if ultimately they decide to close their PR because they did want to take things a different way. Let's be nice. Let's assume good intent. Any more thoughts on that? Any concerns? Any questions? Okay. Back to the countdown, because does anyone have anything they want to talk about in terms of issues, pull requests, or discussion points for this week's SIG Docs meeting? Otherwise, I will give you your time back. Counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That is a SIG meeting, people. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Later.